And then admit all?
Yes.
Okay, done.
Hello, everyone. We are here in another meeting for Gaura Travel. Today, I'm here with Ash, that usually came with us to solve some kind of questions about really good news, actually, because on Friday, the Prime Minister has said that our borders will be reopening on November. So, good afternoon, Ash. How are you today?
Yes, very good and very happy to be here with everybody and really excited to hear what the news was and happy to help with any kind of clarification and questions in regards to that news.
Uh, Ash, last week we were with Abhishek, and Abhishek was explaining that the opens actually will be reopening this year. We didn't potentially thought last week that was too early. We thought could be some kind of late November or even December. What's different with the latest announcement on Friday?
So basically, see what Abhishek shared and what we have all been following is basically the national plan. Uh, and the national plan says that when the whole of Australia reaches 80% of double vaccination, then the whole Australia will open the borders and allow traveling in and out of Australia. And that aim of reaching 80% double vaccination for the whole of Australia is not going to happen until probably mid to end December. And that's why we were expecting that that's what's going to happen. And then only the borders will open from mid to end of December. However, what has been announced by our Prime Minister Scott Morrison on Friday is that not only uh, is the 80% of the whole Australia going to happen sooner, which is in November, but as soon as that happens, then whichever state also reaches their 80%, then the international travel is going to start with that state. So, for example, I believe everybody knows that New South Wales is going to be the first state which will reach 80% double vaccination. So, what announcement came on Friday was that even though the rest of Australia may not reach 80%, but because New South Wales will reach 80%, Australia is going to allow the travels between Australia and India or any other parts of the world as soon as it reaches 80% in New South Wales, and anybody traveling out of New South Wales will be able to travel. And if they are vaccinated, fully vaccinated, they can come back and then quarantine at home for 7 days. So that's the biggest announcement that has happened. And that's the change that has happened from last week to this week.
So that has increased some kind of availability on flights.
Well, not yet, because basically that announcement only came on Friday and we are only here Monday. So that announcement is in the news, in the media. However, the practicality of how it's going to work out, how the flight schedules will be changed, or how the airlines will increase their schedule and increase their flights, all of that is still under discussion. As you know, most of the airlines that operate between here to India specifically have head offices in around the world. So Singapore, Malaysia, Emirates, they are not all based out of Australia. So they are going to process this information, have meetings in the head office and react to that. That's going to take some time. On the other hand, Qantas being a national carrier of Australia and being in Australia itself, they could react very quickly. And obviously, being a national carrier, I think they also have some inside news that when things are going to happen. As such, Qantas reacted to it on Friday itself and released flights from Australia to London and to Los Angeles on 14th of November, starting 14th of November. But
Oh,
most of the other airlines haven't done anything yet over the weekend, but I expect more news to come from them in the coming days.
okay. Ash, it's some kind of misinformation around where some people think that this is not true. How, apart from the announcement of the Prime Minister, that I think is enough to believe in this, how we can get confidence that this is going to really happen on November?
Well, as you just said, there is nothing more than the proof that the Prime Minister himself has said that. And also, you can go on pm.gov.au, anybody who likes to authenticate this, and look at all the media announcements. So, not only was it on the media, as we know, and it's already there on our Facebook page, but all of this is released on PM's website in writing as well. So, everything that he speaks in the media is transcribed and it's all there in writing. So if you would like to check it out on can check it out on pm.gov.au, and all the announcements are there in a written format. So I don't think there is any more proof that could be given more than that, really. Prime Minister of Australia is the head of Australia, and if he's saying something, that means we have to actually accept it.
Exactly. Okay. So for who kind of people are those exceptions to be allowed to travel? Is anyone that is living in Australia, or it's mostly residents? What are the conditions?
So see, there are two aspects to this. One is people who are in Australia and who would like to go from Australia to any part of the world. And secondly, people who are outside Australia and from Australia who wants to come into Australia. So let me start first with people, those who are outside. So still, whoever is living outside of Australia and is stuck outside of Australia, for them, only the permanent residents and citizens will be allowed to come into Australia, which is the same as right now. But the only difference is those who are double vaccinated will be able to get more options to come into Australia with flights. And also, when they come inside Australia, they can do a 7 days home quarantine rather than a 2 weeks hotel quarantine, which is to be paid by every person who comes in. So those who are stuck outside of Australia or anywhere they are unable to come so far, they will have the opportunity to possibly have more flights and also to come and do home quarantine for 7 days. However, it is still not open for tourists. It is still not open for students yet. The talk is that after they finish the backlog of all the residents and citizens who are outside Australia to come into Australia, the next step would be to release it for the students. And then the final step will be to release it for the tourists who want to come into Australia. So tourists and students are still not allowed. Even with this announcement, it's only those who are residents of Australia will be allowed inside the country from outside Australia for the time being. So that's the first thing about people who are outside. Now, those who are already here, those who are already in Australia, just 1 second. Those who are already in Australia, then we, like all of us, if we want to travel, currently, if we want to travel, then we have to seek exemptions from the Australian government to travel outside. However, as of November, whenever the Australia reaches 80% vaccination rates, after that, this system of taking exemptions to travel out will become obsolete, and we will go back to the way we used to travel in the past, where if you had a valid passport and a valid visa for any country in the world, then you can just buy a ticket and then you can travel. So that's the system that we will start following from next month, when the whole of Australia reaches 80%, and also that state that we live in reaches 80%. So it's not that, and as we know that Western Australia, Queensland are lagging behind quite a lot. So they will not be having this system starting until later in the year or possibly next year. New South Wales is the first state that will start this. And Victoria is not very far behind. Hopefully in the mid of November or towards the end of November, Victoria should also join in this system.
Okay, so that means that the two main cities in Australia will be open at latest end of November.
That is correct. That's what we expect. That
But
by
depend
30th of November, Melbourne and Sydney both will be able to travel out. And then because those who will travel out, if they are double vaccinated, when they come back in, then they will be allowed 7 days home quarantine.
okay. So Ash, we had some questions
Sure.
because and you kind of mentioned it already, but we want to be really clear on this.
Mhm.
Uh, what is the situation for the international students that once waiting for so long to come back to Australia? Is there any news about
Yes,
them?
so from what the national plan uh, states and what the Prime Minister has stated, according to my understanding, they will start allowing international students possibly the end of December or from early January for sure, so that next year they can start their studies in the new semester. So I believe that it will be maximum by January that all the students will be also allowed to come into Australia. And they will be able to, if they are double vaccinated, they will be able to do home quarantine. If they are not vaccinated, they will have to go to hotel quarantine.
Okay. In the same way, we have a question for Nadimutu. And Nadimutu asks, when we can expect flights to Sydney from India in November?
So, as I said, most of the airlines are still digesting the news from Friday, and plus, the government has to really give fine-tuned details about how these operations is going to happen. So, what the government is doing first is getting their technology ready. By end of October, their technology will be ready to be able to scan the QR code on the vaccine of each individual, and they are going to test that out. Also, another thing is there is a trial going on for home quarantine in New South Wales currently. So I think both of these things have to be ready first before it will be clear when the flights will be available. We are also talking to many airlines about that. I cannot put a date to it, but I believe towards mid to end November there should be some flights that should be available. I don't
Oh,
think so it will be available in the first week of November, but mid to end November there should be some flights available.
okay. Eh, this is a question linked to this one because, of course, it depends from the availability from flights from India to Australia. However, we have Rahul, and Rahul is asking, what is the situation with return tickets? Two ways. Is a possibility in the near future to have return tickets, for example, from Melbourne to India?
So that's a very good question, Rahul. And my response to that will be that to get return tickets in the next couple of months is going to be a big challenge because airlines are still having a big backlog of people who are still waiting to come into Australia from outside. As we know that there are more than 40,000 people stranded outside of Australia. And I think most people who will go to India this year in November or December most likely is going to return in January or maybe even February. So my recommendation will be those who want to travel, just take one-way ticket from now, and the availability of flights for next year is only going to improve. It's not going to get any worse from what it is right now. So rather than waiting on return flights, because basically we can't be offering return flights because there are no clarity from the airlines and they are not offering return flights right now, but they are offering one-way flights. And that's because there is no restriction to go out of Australia into India or other parts of the world from other countries. So all the other countries are mostly open, especially India is completely open as long as you have a negative PCR test before you travel. That's all is required for India. I cannot guarantee all the requirements for every other country because we are not an expert on that. But certainly for India, there is no restriction as long as you are a overseas citizenship of India, which is a OCI holder or you are an Indian passport holder, you can travel to India without any restriction as long as you've got a negative PCR test. So going into India, there is no restriction. However, as we all know, until now, coming into Australia, there is so much restriction and caps. And because of that, the airlines are very reluctant to put any extra flights until they get full clarity from the government about every single thing. So that will take time to get the full clarity. And until they get the full clarity, they are not going to increase the flights. And until they increase the flights, they are not going to offer the return tickets. That's why they are offering one-way tickets, which is why in our website, we are only offering one-way tickets.
Okay, in that same way, we were talking just in the question before about the availability of flights for November, India to Australia. And we have a question about from Nadimutu. Nadimutu said, do you know if we are going to have just business class or is going to have also the possibility for economy?
I expect there should be economy seats as well because every flight only has a limited business class around only 15 to 20. But obviously, if they're going to allow double vaccinated travelers to come into Australia and do home quarantine, then the availability on economy class tickets should increase. There should be many more seats that should be available rather than what it is right now. But it won't be until mid to end November.
Okay. So many people has got the COVID shield vaccine. Is the COVID shield going to be approved for traveling into Australia, or there is not clarity yet about it?
No, fantastic question. And already on Friday, this has been announced by the Prime Minister that Covishield and Sinovac. So Covishield is used in India and Sinovac is used in China. And because majority of the students who come to Australia are from India and China, the Australian government, which is through their TGA, have already recognized these two vaccines to allow travel. It's not these two vaccines are not allowed to be administered in Australia. The vaccines that are allowed to be administered in Australia widely, as we know, is AstraZeneca, Moderna, and Pfizer. But Covishield and Sinovac, both, which is from India and China, are recognized authentic vaccines, and anybody having those two vaccines will be allowed to travel in Australia.
Okay. Do we have clarity about the people that has temporary visa, for example, graduate visa for 85? They will be allowed to come, or are they considered like a residents, or they have to wait a little bit longer?
I believe they have to wait a little bit longer unless they apply for exemptions and they are granted exemptions to come. At the moment, I think the focus of the Australian government is to clear the backlog of Australian residents and citizens who are stuck abroad. Once that backlog is clear, then they are going to keep opening out to other people. As we know, 40,000 or more people are still stuck abroad, including India. So unless and until that backlog is cleared, I don't think so. The government will allow other visa holders to be coming, unless they are approved by exemptions.
Is there any possibility that Qantas will be operating flights to India?
Well, they are already operating flights right now in terms of the government facilitated flights to pick up those people from there and take them to Darwin. So I think they may be continuing to operate those flights to Darwin, or they may change that destination to some other destination, for example, Sydney. So because they are already operating right now, they are operating 4 to 5 flights a month. So I think if that's what you mean, I think they are going to continue. But if you mean that they may start some regular scheduled flights, I don't know because I'm not from Qantas, and as far as I know, they haven't been flying to India on a regular scheduled flights for many years, and I don't think so. That's going to be a very quick decision for them to take. But what they are already doing in terms of repatriation flights, I think that will continue.
Okay. Let's see more questions today. People is really active, so looks like some kind of excitement about traveling.
Fantastic.
what are your thoughts about parents getting tourist visas to travel to Australia in the near future? Any predictions? Something like early 2022, mid 2022, or late 2022?
I think from April onwards, anybody on tourist visa should be allowed, because basically before that, all the people who are on PR and citizens and also the students, that will be cleared. So between now and January, February, all the people who are PR and residents and citizens and students would have come to Australia already. And the next semester, next year, education year will start in March next year. And then after that, they are going to open it for tourists as well. So I believe from April onwards, April 2022, tourists should be able to come back to Australia.
Okay. Eh, what's the chance to help someone that is from Pakistan to come to Australia with our flights? Is there any way to people from Pakistan to come to Australia with Gaura travel flights?
So as we all know, our flights are going only from Australia to India and India to Australia. So anybody who is in any other country, including Pakistan, they can choose to somehow reach India if they can, and only then they can travel on these flights. Otherwise, unfortunately, we won't be able to help.
Okay, perfect. Just give me a second. Eh, is India visa service open if you have Australian passport? Hmm, that's- I know
Yes,
the
it is open, and we know some of the people have got new visas and travel to India on our charter flights. So I think they just need to apply to the Indian High Consulate, to the VFS services in Australia, and depend on what kind of visa they want. I believe India is still not issuing tourist visa, but India is issuing other kind of visas: business visa, student visa, medical visa, all of these. So if anybody likes to apply, and they can apply, and if they're granted that visa, they can travel.
okay. So there is a good question from Sumit Sharma on Facebook, and Sumit said, "When our flights are going to start from Sydney to Delhi without exemptions for citizens?" So this, I want to complete this question because I will take out Sydney to Delhi. I will say New South Wales. When do you think will start without exemptions?
So to give me an exact date today is not going to be possible, because it depends on when the rule is removed, on what date it is removed by the federal government, where you don't need exemptions anymore. So it's a biosecurity rules have to be updated by the federal government, and once that is done, from next day, people can travel without exemptions. Now, as per the announcement, it is very clear that that's going to happen sometime in November, but exactly as to when in November is still not clear.
It depends when we reach the 80% of double doses for eligible people vaccinated in New South Wales, and after that they do the announcement. Is that right?
And that is correct.
Okay. So Grace is waiting for her Australian passport and OCA card. Uh, if she don't get the OCA on time, for example, mid-November, can she travel taking an Indian visa? Can she travel having an Indian visa? I'm not sure if she's coming to Australia or going to India.
No, I think if she's asking for Indian visa, that means she's going to India. Yes, if you don't get OCI on time, if you apply for a visa and you're granted a visa, you can travel on that visa. India is
Okay.
allowing people to travel to India on visas, accepting tourist visas, I believe.
Okay. Uh, this is really important, interesting because the question about the Pakistan citizen is Australian citizen that wants to go to Pakistan and return.
Mhm.
So in this case, and based on your question, basically we can provide Australia to India. if this person is Australian citizen, my understanding is has to apply for an exemption because Australians at the moment need an exemption to travel outbound. And from India should book another flight to reach Pakistan. Is that right, or there is any
That is
other?
one option. Otherwise, there are other flights available from here to Pakistan as well, which we don't book,
Okay.
but I'm sure he can find it online. I think Emirates or other airlines should have direct flights from here to Pakistan as well. So you can book it that way.
Okay. Does the government mention any priority system to bring people back home, like open some kind of tickets for people that has been waiting longer or has more needs to come, or is open for everyone? It will be open for everyone when allowed.
Yeah, there is no such system, unfortunately. So it's just a luck, whoever gets the tickets and whoever happens to be able to, buy a ticket to come back. There is no such system as to somebody is on priority or not. I think there was a system when they actually closed the borders to India in May on the height of second wave. Then there was a list of vulnerable citizens who were given the priority, but that's been well and truly over. That happened for maybe around 1,000 to 1,500 people, and then it stopped. Then everybody is just treated as equal.
Okay. Eh, okay. So Rahul understands that is not return tickets at the moment. That's completely clear. So, but for example, if Rahul purchased one-way ticket to India, and then sometime in February, prices could potentially drop, and he can come back to Australia. Is that a good idea?
That's correct. That's my understanding. That basically people, if they are really keen, all of you, you're really keen, you should just travel and book one-way tickets to India now. And most people, I believe, will go to India for at least 6 to 8 weeks, which is around 2 months. And then by the time you're ready to come back, there will be many more options available to come from India, because things are only going to improve. I think by that time, Australia will reach more than 90% vaccinations. So they're going to allow much more freedom, and also things will be much better in India. I guess so. We are going into one direction. We are only going to get better from wherever we are right now in the whole travel industry in the whole world. So as we keep passing time in the early 2022, the options to come to Australia will only get better.
Okay. What about people with visa 309? That is usually partner visa.
I'm not really an expert on a particular visa, but I think partner visas are treated same as residents. So partner visas are treated same as Australian residents.
So they potentially could be, but at the moment, people that are partners need an exemption.
No, they don't.
Okay. Eh, so January is not clear if there will be return flights in January.
No,
Is
there will be, but not at the moment. Like there will be
okay.
flights that's available, but it won't be immediately available.
Okay. So what about Australian citizens?
Just 1 second. Let me just stop the video. A couple of other. Okay, yep, go on.
Okay. So what about Australian citizens traveling from Melbourne to Delhi? When will the flight start and bookings become available? I guess will be without the exemption because at the moment people can travel with exemptions if they have, yeah.
So to answer your question, all the flights are already available on our website for November, for December, even for January. You don't need to wait, and you can just book those tickets as basically as per the announcement by the government and by all the authorities. You will not need exemption if you're traveling in November and December. But if the government changes any policies again, that's up to them really. I can't speak on their behalf, but from what we have seen and what we have read, it seems there is no reason for them to go back again, and they're going to only move forward, which means that they're going to remove the exemptions and then allow everybody to travel from November and December.
Okay. So people that is Australian citizens and they want to go to India to visit their relatives, they have to wait until November to book the ticket.
If they want to travel without exemptions, yes. If they want to travel with exemptions, you can do that now. And exemptions are available quite easily nowadays. So it's not very hard. You just need to apply for exemptions. It doesn't cost you anything. So you can still apply for those exemptions and travel now in October if you like, Nothing stopping you. Every day we are getting hundreds of people applying for exemptions and buying the tickets and traveling. But if you want to avoid that and you want to travel without that need of exemptions, then that would have to be in November.
Perfect. What is the cancellation policy that we have at the moment with the tickets, Australia to India, India to Australia?
So various airlines have various different policies. So I wouldn't be able to give you the details about every single one. So it's on our website. You go and check it out. So some airlines do allow a ticket to be cancelled and refunded. Some airlines have a price which is non-refundable. So it depends on airlines to airlines. And all
Okay.
those terms and conditions are available at the time of you adding a ticket to cart and paying for it. Before that, you can check it all out.
Okay, perfect. Lots of questions mostly focus on the return tickets. If someone booked with Gaura Travel, this is a question for Sadai, and they have some kind of ticket and they want extra luggage, is any possibility to add the extra luggage?
Absolutely. So there are various options. You can prepay the luggage, buy that before, or you can basically pay it at the airport. I would always recommend to prepay and buy it before you travel. That's always cheaper.
Okay. If the borders will be open in November and December, why the prices is still high? Is the question for Daljit.
Well, it depends. What do you mean by high? We are offering a one-way ticket right now with $899. That's a pretty good deal on Etihad Airways for here to India. Now, if you're expecting the prices to be 899 or 900, 1000 for return tickets, which used to be the case pre-COVID, then I must say that that's not going to happen in a hurry. And especially because next few months will be peak season travel to India anyways. So I think at the moment, if you're getting a one-way ticket for $899, that's a very reasonable price. Throughout the year, earlier this year, last year, we were selling one-way tickets for 1,500, for 1,800, for 1,200, for 1,300. So right now, if you're getting a one-way ticket for under $1,000, that's a very good deal. So we can't expect things to go back to how it was pre-COVID for the next few months.
And to be clear, some prices coming from India to Australia are high due to the limited caps.
That's correct.
Yeah. So if the caps start to be abolished, we will have more seats and the airlines can drop the prices. Is that right?
Correct. That's absolutely correct.
Okay. Tickets from January to March. When will tickets basically for next year will be available?
Well, we already have some seats available for January. For February and March, it's too early. I think we should be able to have something in place in next month, November, because there will be much more clarity that will come in November. And also the airline starts a new season called a winter season, which is a northern winter. So from November to March end, this is the northern winter schedule of all the airlines, which are still being worked out. So I believe by first week of November, you will get a very clear picture about what the next year whole looks like and what the schedule and options are available.
Okay, perfect. Eh, People are still asking for return tickets. It's the most recurring question today. Eh,
I can again repeat it. My answer to that is basically you won't get an answer about return tickets at least for next 1 month. Let's be clear about that. And even if you do get return tickets, it's not going to be very cheap. Don't expect to get a return ticket for 1,000, 1,100, or $1,200. It's not going to happen. I believe the lowest return ticket you will get is around closer to $2,000 mark rather than anything less than that, which is almost going to be the same if you buy a one-way ticket now and buy a one-way ticket from India when you want to come next year. So I don't think so you're going to gain much by waiting to buy return tickets. Rather, whatever one-way tickets are available right now will also be selling out. So I would recommend you to take a one-way ticket and travel and then keep looking. And we will also be putting lots of flights, one-way tickets from India to Australia. You can look into check our website, and then whenever you see a good price, you can buy that at a later stage.
I want to make a point here, Ash, because last week we were discussing with Abhishek a lot about prices.
Mm-hmm.
And many people seems to be waiting for the prices to drop while airlines are going to open seats, but as we can see, the demand is also quite high.
Absolutely.
So the thing that could potentially happen because there is the law of the demand, the price and demand. If there's more demand, the price increase, and many people want to go. So Abhishek was explaining last week that potentially the price could potentially even be higher.
Look, absolutely. The demand is only going to increase, it's not going to reduce. So we understand that one-way tickets from India to Australia currently is at like $7,000. Now, obviously, that's over the top. That's definitely going to reduce because that price is because it's due to limited caps into Australia. That's going to improve. However, the prices that we are seeing from Australia to India, I think it's quite reasonable. As we said, we're offering one-way tickets from 899 upwards to maybe 1100, 1200. So I believe this range is going to continue or rather increase more in December, where it's peak season. I think you will start seeing one-way tickets towards 1500, 1600, even up to 2000. So the more you wait, the less you will be able to save. So I believe those who have plans and those who are serious to travel should really book in advance right now. And because the demand is going to be so high, I mean, there are 700,000 Indians in Australia, and all of them mostly have not traveled in the last 2 years. So imagine, if everybody of them start looking for tickets, there's no way that I don't think so. There is more than 20,000 tickets available between now and December. So compared to 700,000, there's only 20,000 available in the whole of next 3 months.
Yeah. So another good question here is this one when they say uh, the flights with the shortest waiting time. For example, Sydney to Delhi waiting 3 hours in one airport for one stop. When this kind of flights will be available again?
Well, we already have some available on Emirates right now from Sydney to Delhi, which has only 2-3 hours waiting time in Dubai. There are other options that's going to come. However, at the moment, this one option is available. And then we are going to put some charter flights as well because I think the regular flights will not be enough to meet the demand. So please keep checking our website, and there will be more options coming in the coming days and weeks.
Yeah. Abdul Khaled is looking for flights from Chennai to Melbourne. We explain potentially when we have more clarity, we will have available again flights from India to Australia.
That is correct. Right now, we still have some seats available on the 5th of November, but the pricing is still around that $7,000 mark. If you're looking for any cheaper pricing, you need to wait. However, again, there is no guarantee as to when that could be possible and what date and which airline. All of this is still being worked out.
Okay, Surbi Sahil is asking when the flights with quarantine in Melbourne will start. But I understand we have what the flights that we have provided arriving to Melbourne has been with quarantine in Melbourne until the caps were sold out. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes.
So the thing is we were doing some kind of green zone in other places.
Correct. Sydney, Adelaide. Yep.
Yeah, to take advantage of the capability because otherwise people couldn't come.
That is correct.
Yeah. When we can expect direct flight from Sydney to Delhi, I think we already did that. This one. Can Garuda Travel facilitate tickets to cities not available in the website, like Melbourne to Calcutta?
Yeah, absolutely. Just give us a call and the consultant would be able to help and look at the options available and help you with that.
So, just to be clear, cities that you cannot see in the website potentially could be booked through the assistant online on the call
That's correct.
or on the chat also on the website.
Correct.
Perfect. So let's see, Ash, because tickets for Chennai to Melbourne, New Delhi to Melbourne. Yeah, people is asking for tickets in January, India to Australia, but at that time the caps supposed to be abolished and we will have definitely more availability. I think this is just a matter to wait for the announcement.
Look, absolutely. I think the point is basically, I think I want to make a general point here that ultimately everybody is trying to give as much of clarity as much they have. So the government is trying to take one step at a time, the airlines are taking one step at a time, and then we are also taking one step at a time. So basically, to get clarity about everything about 2022 is not going to happen in a hurry. Let's first be getting clarity about 2021. There are 3 months still left in October, November, December. And as time keeps progressing, there will be more clarity coming out, coming out, coming out. It's not that all of a sudden tomorrow or on next week there will be a full clarity about everything. It's not going to happen. It's only going to come gradually. So my recommendation to everybody is don't wait for that full clarity. If you are really keen on traveling, you can take a bit of risk if you like. The point here is that there is no right or wrong answer. It depends on each person's reason for travel. It depends for each person's urgency. If you feel that you don't want to travel until you get the full clarity, that's up to you as well. But I would recommend you that if that's the case, you will probably need to wait till next year, February or March, because full clarity is not going to come in the next 2-3 months.
Yeah. On the other hand, Ash, what about the exemptions? Is this a good moment to travel? Because people is asking a lot about the exemptions, but we have been told by Anuja and actually Abhishek reconfirmed last week that exemptions are getting easier to get approved these days because basically the vaccination process is going quite well in Australia, and it just a matter to apply to your exemption.
Absolutely, and I think let me give you some statistics. I believe that probably in May, June, if 10 people were applying for exemptions, 9 was getting rejected and maybe 1 was getting approved. Right now, if 10 people are applying for exemption, maybe 8 or 9 people are getting approved, only 1 is getting rejected. So it's totally the opposite, you know. So I think most people who apply for exemption now just put in a little bit more effort and they are getting through the exemptions.
Okay.
So it's
So
totally opposite.
totally. So will tickets available to all major cities in India, or it will be only Mumbai, Delhi? Have we explained if there is any city that you cannot see in the website? Just please give us a call. The line is open 24/7, 7 days, 24 hours. So you just call your Garuda travel agent and they will be happy to help you to book the extra destination to reach home.
But just to add to that, the major cities in India where international flights goes are already available on our website. So I'll just go through the list quickly. So in the north, there is Delhi, which is the main airport that's available. In the west, there is Ahmedabad and Mumbai. In the south, there is Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai. So all of these cities are already available, which are the major, even Cochin. These are the major destinations into India which are totally available on our website.
Perfect. Uh, will we be able to book one way to any destination in India in December?
Yes, check it out tomorrow or day after. There will be more options available on our website. So as we know that everything is dynamically getting unfolded, so we are also trying to, make more and more dates and seats available on our website as soon as possible.
Okay. So I just make us to realize that in some flights we have the description of RT-PCR is saying 72 hours, but I want you Ash, to clarify that for all the flights that we have available, the RT-PCR is 48 hours.
Yes, that's our recommendation that we should do 48 hours because then you are definitely sure that you will be very close to the flight and you won't be denied boarding.
Yeah, if we will check Sadai and if there is any saying 72 hours, we will change it because we are aware that it's 48 hours.
Yep.
Uh, let me see because I think we solved all the questions today.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, that did say thank you. Uh, that were all the questions for today. Really good news, Ash, because basically traveling is getting uh, more and more active these days. I want to share some data also. For example, this October, we have almost every day available flights available to travel to India.
Fantastic.
And in November, we have at least one flight every day. So
Fantastic.
just check.
That's a very big difference than in the past where we had one flight a month,
Yeah.
basically in the last 18 months. So it's fantastic.
And the other important news here is, of course, we are trying to increase availability December, January, and the coming months. Sooner the date, more clarity about these topics. We will be here every week to try to bring more and more information and give you clarity and the certainty that traveling home is possible these days.
Fantastic. Thank you all very much. And I would like to congratulate everybody that this is some good news coming and it's good for everybody. Those who haven't visited home and, seen their family, it's the time to, go ahead and book this. I would say that have more confidence, have more certainty and book one-way tickets and go. I think all the indications that we are getting is that basically things are only going to get better, not worse from where we are.
Yeah. Just to answer the last question, Surrender wants to travel to Adelaide. There are two old couple Australian citizens and both have taken the 2 doses of COVID shield. As some flights are available, they come come. Yeah, that just a thing of availability at the moment to book those tickets.
Yeah, sure. I think there are some seats available on 5th of November. You
Okay.
you can come back, no problem.
Okay, so surrender, King, 5th of November, you will be able to
But
come.
that is still going to be hotel quarantine because Adelaide is still not started home quarantine officially. They are doing a trial, but they are
Yeah,
not officially started home quarantine for everybody. So it's upon the state government when they actually start the home quarantine. So at the moment, as it stands today, no state in the Australia has started home quarantine. But the first state that is expected to start is New South Wales, followed by Victoria, then followed by, I believe it's going to be South Australia third. And then Western Australia and Queensland would be the last two major states. But in terms of East Coast, we believe New South Wales, Victoria, and South Australia would be the three states that's going to be in the line, in the queue.
perfect. Okay, Ash, once again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you everyone next Monday with another guest and more topics to discuss. Stay safe and let's travel again.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
ये देख रहा हूँ इसमें आया मिड नवंबर में वो स्टार्ट करेंगे बॉर्डर